Hi, hi, Theresa. Welcome to Clarity Conversations.
Hi, Claire. How are you?
Good, good. So excited to have you. And I'm going to introduce you. So you are the founder and president of the Catskill Candle Company, and you can see mine
Correct.
burning behind. Um, and you and I met a few years back through, you found me, I think, through CEW, which is Cosmetic Executive Women, for those who don't know. And you had always had a dream to start a line of candles.
That's right.
You had worked in for, I think you said about 22 years at this point, and your training and background has been at, we won't say the name, but it's one of the world's largest direct sell companies. So developing fragrance for them, and you really wanted to do this, but you needed a little push. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Catskill Candle Company, how you started, what your inspiration was, where you needed the help, and just take it away.
Sure. So I reached out to you. How it all started was really quick. When my husband and I got married in 2015, I needed a wedding favor, and I was like, I'm going to make my own candle, and that was the start of it. Like, that was the inspiration. I just had so much fun making those candles, and I said, I could do this. This would be really cool. So I thought about it, and then we had a baby, and it was constantly pinging in my mind, and I'm like, how am I going to get this started? I don't even know where to begin. Yeah, I can buy the materials, but then what do I do? And what kind of fragrances would I have? And so I happened to find you on CEW, and I said, let me just reach out, like, just to get somebody's opinion, somebody's professional opinion. So I reached out to you, and we started talking, and you are an inspiration, because the ideas that we came up with in those, I think, 6 or 8 sessions it was the little push that I needed, so you and I then, we kind of broke off, and I was on my own, and I said, oh my gosh, well, okay, now what happens? So, being, with a newborn, and, my husband's also a pilot, so he's here and he's not. So it was very difficult,
Yeah.
So there was a lot of starts and stops. A year later, we ended up moving up to the Sullivan Catskills, and we moved up to this beautiful log cabin with these huge, northern pines and junipers and cedar woods. And it was such a source of inspiration, and this candle company still pinging in my mind. And I had this really silly name for the first company that I'm not even going to say what it was. But I said Catskill because I wanted something more luxurious. I wanted it to sound upscale. I mean, I've been in the industry for 22 years, so I didn't want something hokey, for lack of a better term. I wanted it to be, clean and simple, like almost it's a very simple life up here if you allow it to be. So I kind of wanted to bring that into the candle company.
Yeah.
So I woke up one morning and I said, Catskill Candle Company. That just sounds it just sounded so elegant to me, and just simple, So okay, great, we got the name. So then I went back to our conversation, and you and I had talked about my lifestyle. You asked me, well, what are your hobbies? What do you love to do? So we slowly started incorporating. I said, all right, well, we like to ride motorcycles. So what kind of a fragrance would that be? And we live in the Sullivan Catskills. So what kind of inspiration does that bring? We also live about 10 miles away from the original site of the Woodstock Festival in 1969. So that brought some inspiration. And we just slowly over the years started building this. Then COVID hit. And, I had a lot of time on my hands. I didn't have to commute anymore. So that was 2 hours out of my day, 5 days a week.
Wow.
That I had time to think and do something. And obviously as the years went by, my daughter got a little bit older, a little bit more independent. And I just started putting things together, and I started really researching what I wanted the product to look like, what we wanted the box to look like, what we wanted the label to look like. So it just all came together during COVID. I think a lot of people can attest to, you know, the inspirations that they got from it.
Yeah.
So
everything changed.
It really did. It really did. And I said, if not now, then when?
Then when?
Know? Exactly. Yep. So again, so then when I got to the box and the label part, what do? I got that deer in the headlights look. I'm like, what do? I turned to CEW again. So, and I remembered that I found you on CEW. Yeah. And how helpful that was. So I said, well, let me reach out to somebody and just see where I can get these components from. And that's where I got the help. Mm-hmm. So you start networking, you know, you start learning how to network. So that's kind of how it all came together, sort of in a nutshell.
That is so beautiful. So there's a couple of things as I'm listening to you that popped out for me. Is one, and I'm going to say this, you know, you found multiple people through your network, right? And you reached out. So it does take a village. And I think that's a lesson that I've learned. Definitely as an entrepreneur, you need a lot of support. You need to be willing to reach out and invest a little bit to get support. But even in regular corporate careers, right? You need help. You can't do everything on your own all the time.
That's very true, yes.
But also what I love that you said about like looking at your lifestyle, and I think this is something we do in coaching, and I know I feel very strongly about, is that a lot of us go around thinking like, oh, when I'm a bigger person, when I'm a more interesting person, when I'm a more successful person, when I'm a more fill in the blank person, that we forget that we already are interesting and successful and cool and fun, and that there's so much in just how we live already.
Right. And that's what I learned from you. So yeah, like I said, it was so inspirational. It really was. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. It just, you know, you sort of almost need somebody to tell you that. You know?
Well, you're inspirational to me, because I have to say it is, you really stuck with it. And that is a big, I think no matter what you're endeavoring to do, sticking with it is a major, major. So tell us a little bit about like candles today. And I mean, you're an expert, right? You know the industry, you know the market. How are people using candles? Why are people using candles? So I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. So again, when COVID hit, you know, a lot of people were home. Yeah. So I thought, you know, strike while the iron's hot. You know, people, you know, I think at the time that people wanted a little comfort, some kind of maybe a little clarity, a little bit more focus, you know, or just even comfort, comfort. So we thought about that when we were putting, you know, these fragrances together. And so I've lost my train of thought.
What's that?
I lost my train of thought.
Oh, that's okay. So wait, what were you saying? It was COVID, people wanted focus, and you wanted to strike while the iron was hot.
Right. So what happened was, you know, when we put these together, we sort of, we kept that in mind. We kept that in mind. And we went, what was the question, Claire? I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I was talking about like the industry, like what people are using home fragrance a lot these days. And I think where you were going is that they're like, I love what you said about clarity and focus and comfort. And just sort of naming that, because just to like, I'm going to steal what you said and go in another direction. But a lot of people are talking to me today about like hybrid work. How do I make my hybrid work, you know, team work well? And I'm thinking comfort, clarity, focus. These are all the things people are asking for. And when I say to them, you know, start by getting a little bit calm. Right. And they don't, you know, people are like, yeah, what am I going to do? Light a candle, breathe? Don't tell me to breathe. And I'm like, I know, but at some point, there's no getting around it. It's
Right.
you've got to find
Right.
these moments. And one of the candles you have is 1969. The other one is the spruce, winter spruce. Now, all these fragrances and smells that I think are familiar, they're nostalgic. They do bring comfort right now. And they kind of like,
Yeah, so they sort of give you that comfort, right? Exactly. Yeah. So but and being in the fragrance industry for so many years, I just wanted to try my hand at that, and bring that to, bring our lifestyle to people's homes, and bring that ambiance, and bring that almost like a feeling, bring that feeling into people's homes.
Yeah.
So we kind of wanted to try our hand at that. The candle industry alone, just candles alone, is billions of dollars in revenues across the market. And I don't know what the number is in the US alone, but it's fairly large. It's fairly large. So for me, I've always loved candles. I love burning them. I love seeing, every time I'm in whatever store, I'm always like, oh, what do they have? Whether it be the supermarket or a specialty store, I just love smelling them. Yeah. And every single one of them gives you a different feeling,
Totally. So tell me the fragrances again. We have the 19. Go ahead.
Yep. So the line is 7 fragrances, and there's 1969, and that's sort of a tribute to Woodstock. We're about 10 miles away from Bethel Woods, which was the original site.
What does that one have in it?
That has musk, patchouli, and rose. Those are like the 3 key notes. So when I curated that fragrance, it was just a beautiful fragrance. And I said, well, what's in it? And so I sort of drew on my experience in the industry. I'm like, all right, let's look at the key notes. Let's see what's in there. And so we wanted something to pay tribute to where we are in the Catskills, right?
Yeah.
So we looked at the notes, and I said, well, what was popular? What were the popular notes back in the 60s? And it happened to be rose, patchouli, and musk. Patchouli for sure, but rose I didn't know. So I said, well, what are we going to call this thing? We can't call it Woodstock, So we just thought 1969. That's when it took place. Perfect. And we actually did a farmer's market. It was almost like a holiday market. I shouldn't say farmer's market. It was towards the holidays. And people were just so intrigued. They were like, what does it smell like? So when we explained it to them, it was instantly a bestseller. Yeah, they loved it.
It's a great story. All right. And then we have the winter spruce, which basically smells like pine needles when you're walking in the woods, right? It's gorgeous. Yeah, that's just what I have here.
Fresh. Yeah, the fresh, clean,
all the time. Yeah.
Fresh, clean. It's got a little bit of like a sparkling lemon on top to give you almost that coldness, that cold kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And so it's got juniper, a little bit of cedar in the background.
Yep.
But
what are the other? What are the other fragrances?
So the other one is, the next one is Mystic Gardenia. And we curated that because our daughter is part of our life. This is a bit of an interesting story. My mom gave me a gardenia the day she was born. And so I kind of want, she's part of our life. So I wanted, I wanted a floral in our line. And I just thought that was just perfect. And it's just a beautiful blend of jasmine and gardenia, a little bit of tuberose, some musk in the background. And it's just a small tribute to my daughter, because she's part of our lives. So, I wanted that in there.
Awesome.
The next one is Coffee Talk. So my husband and I love our coffee chats in the morning. It's always coffee, and we talk about what's going on in the world, hopes and dreams too. Like we've had so many conversations about this candle company over coffee. And so we needed a coffee. So what are we going to call it? And, we have a coffee chat in the morning. So we thought Coffee Talk. So there's that one. And then there's Man Candle. So my husband, he's like, you know, guys like candles too. He's like, what kind of candles do guys like? And I said, well, I don't. So we actually started doing a little bit of research because I don't know that there's any company out there that really has a candle for men, really.
Yeah.
You start seeing them in more like the niche, more like the artisan candles. They're there, but not so much in the mainstream. So I said, well, okay, well, what do we want it to smell like? And we thought we would start because we may want to extend that man candle line, into different, and actually have a line just for candles for men. So we decided to call it man candle. And it's just more like a fresh cologne kind of smell, almost like an eau de cologne. It's got a little bit of orange flower in there, a little bit of jasmine, but it's got that manly kind of feel.
Yeah.
So it's more of like a fresh man's cologne, like a freshly showered man. So we wanted that. So that's in the line. And then the last one, let me think now, because I don't have them in front of me. So we have the man candle, we have coffee talk, we have
Gardenia,
the
1969, the
Winter
pine
Spruce,
needles.
and oh gosh, I should know this, right? Oh my gosh, what's the other one? I'm trying to think of, I have them all on my shelf downstairs. I'm trying to go, how could I forget? Date the beach. We love the beach.
Yeah.
We love the beach. So we needed to put that one in there. So again, that came about, because we have to go to the Jersey Shore at least once a year and spend the weekend, spend a couple of days. And so we wanted something that was a little salty air, a little marine. And so we curated that fragrance. So I was able to find one like that. And it has a little bit of melon in it to give it a little bit of freshness.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's basically our lifestyle, like right there, in like 7 different candles.
And you know what I'm noticing, Theresa, is like, as you're talking about it, each one really is a baby. Like you took such care for each one and you know them all so well. And
yes. And I don't think we talked about saddlebags. Did we talk about saddlebags?
No.
I don't think so.
What's
we missed that one.
I think I have those.
So yeah. So saddlebags, of course, we can't forget that one. So we love riding motorcycles. My husband and I's first date was on a motorcycle, and we just spent all day, and I was just instantly in love. And so we couldn't, have our company without saddlebags. So that's almost like a manly kind of fragrance too. So, men are kind of attracted to that one. It's leather. It's got tobacco in it. It's got a little spice in the background. So yeah, so it really smells like it smells like a leather jacket to me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I know.
So we call them saddlebags.
So it's interesting. I have 2 of them, but I'm gonna go get the other ones. This is awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
So listen, I want to make sure that I always want to keep our things short, but this is like, I feel like I could keep talking. But let's say, so it's Catskill Candle Company, and you can order them on Amazon.
Correct.
Right?
Yep. So if you go to amazon.com/shops/Catskill Candle Company, it'll take you right to our entire line.
Beautiful. And I did it, and it was really quick, and I had my candles the next day.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
awesome.
And we also offer free shipping. So,
perfect.
Yep. And
Good.
anywhere in the 48 contiguous states, as my husband likes to say. So yeah, but yeah, we'll get them to you quick for sure.
All right, cool. So Theresa, thank you so much for being here. I'm so inspired by what you've done. It's really, and I have to
thank
tell
you for your help, Claire. Really, when I reached out to you after everything was done, you were like the purple elephant in the room. I'm like, I gotta tell Claire, what this has become, and I never thought it could be, but here we are. So,
and I'm so glad you did. I'm so glad you did. So.
Thank you.
All right, good. So happy success, and I'm looking forward to lots of people using your candles.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Claire.
All right, bye, Theresa.
Take care.
Let me stop recording. Whoop.